Hi guys, Tab here, hope you're all keeping well. Yes, it's time for another video. In this one, we're going to be looking at my Porsche Taycan configuration. Now, I know what you're thinking when you mention the words Porsche and options list in the same sentence, you're in for a very lengthy list indeed. In fact, most of them are only slightly shorter than the distance from here to the moon. But in this one, I want to distill it a little bit and let you know why I've landed on the options that I have. And if you're considering a Taycan, there are some options that are very important indeed, and those options specifically relate to the ability to charge the vehicle. Yeah, I've done a lot of geeking out on forums, looking at kilowatts, rapid charging, cable types, all of that good stuff to hopefully give you some advice that might help you if you're thinking about indeed getting a Porsche Taycan. Yeah, I really do want to explore the sort of EV vehicle thing, right? The electric vehicle thing, because for me, I've had ICE all my life. I'll still own ICE. I wanted to sort of try something a bit different and see what that ownership experience is like. And actually, I'm quite excited about it. Something different, right? A whole new world. And the Porsche Taycan we're going to be looking at today is specifically the MY22, so the model year 22. That's the configuration I'm looking at. Now, if you've been looking at the Taycan at all, you'll notice that the model list is growing by the day. We've now got the Cross Turismo, the sport variant of that. And there's a lot of conversation which takes place specifically around the type of Taycan, or what is the best price performance ratio, best bang for buck model to go for. Now, forgive me for this. I'm not going to be looking at you directly in the eyes. I still love you. Hopefully we can get through this. I do need to look at the web browser on the screen to see what I'm looking at. But you'll see here, I have the Porsche Taycan configuration open, right? We've got the Taycan models open on the screen here. So I've just gone to the UK Porsche configurator, love a 911, look at that. But this is the Taycan we're going to be looking at. And you'll see here, yes, there's already a lot of models. The Cross Turismo launched recently, and then of course the Sport Turismo, which is slightly lower, more aggressive version of the Cross Turismo. So, you know, the model list is going through the roof. Now, the only thing that I don't like about the Taycan for me is it's got 4 doors and it's massive, but I can probably live with that. If they had a 2-door coupe version, I'd be all over it. But anyway, they don't. But what is the best price performance ratio to look at here? So if you're looking at the Taycan specifically, you'll notice the starting Taycan is 72,850, right? But that goes up to a whopping 139,280 for the Turbo S. That's almost double, right? We're talking about the same model, but you can double the cost of it just by sort of going up to the Turbo S model, which is insane. So there is a huge variance in terms of what you pay or what you can pay for a Taycan. Now, I should also mention here that Porsche residuals are insane. It's pretty much free motoring. I mean, just looking at Auto Trader, the residuals, what, for example, the 911 Turbo S is selling for, what Taycans are still selling for, or even two years old, you know, thereabouts, still really holding their value, which is great. But I want to whiz through the options list here and let you know what I'm looking at. So most people say that the sort of best price performance ratio is probably the 4S or the GTS, right? But of course, me being slightly mad and loving my speed, I'm looking at a Turbo S. And of course, why not? It's just got, you know, a few extra things that I really like as standard. You know, the charging ports that are automatic. You get, of course, the carbon ceramic brakes. You get the air suspension, which is, I think, a must on this car because it's a heavy car and you don't want it sort of clunking over those bumps. But we'll look into the specific config that I've got. So what we're going to do is just load that straight up on screen and then run through it. So let's do that now. Okay guys, so we got the config open on the screen and you can see here £11,109 worth of options. Base spec is a Porsche Taycan Turbo S, which has a lot of capability built in already. Really cool stuff, things like rear wheel steering as well, right? So that's quite interesting to see. But yeah, you get quite a lot thrown in as standard air suspension. Of course, a host of other trim options that are thrown in. But great looking car, I think, in this spec. And you know, you can't really get a Porsche without some options tick, right? So that's just expected. So running through the spec I've chosen, you can see it there on screen. The Porsche code is up here, PNYENZ67. If you want to whack it in and have a play around yourself, why on earth not? But here's what I've chosen on my Porsche and why. So obviously colour has to be grey. Love grey cars, right? So for me, that grey colour I think looks fantastic. Really, on screen here is not the same as it is in person, all right? I've got to say that I had a look at this in the dealership today, a Taycan Cross Turismo in Volcano Grey, and it's much darker than that you see on than what you see on screen there, and a lot more metallic. So a very cool colour, and of course grey. It's kind of, you know, it's just going to transcend time and not really offend anyone, so it'd be good for the resale value. So grey is, crayon is also good, but, you know, quite common. I think the Taycan, because it's such a big car, looks a bit better in a darker colour. If it's bright and big, oh, it's a little bit much. Now the wheels, this is an important one. So lots of options on the wheels for Taycan. I'm not a fan on these ones here. So they're the blades. You get carbon blades. Just don't like them. I don't think you see enough of the calipers, and you know, I know it's better for the range and the aerodynamics, but for me it just doesn't work. The RS Spider design, they look pretty cool. That's something I was very close to potentially getting, and I still might get it, but for me it had to be the 21-inch Mission E wheels. I think they look great, but I hated this bit around the edge here, this white trim. Really don't like that at all. So to fix that, we can go in here and we can get the wheels painted either in black gloss. Don't like black gloss wheels really, or satin platinum, which is exactly what I went for. You can get satin aurum, which I'll put on here, so you get kind of gold wheel, but for me doesn't work on that car. So satin platinum it is, and I think that looks great. I think that is a nice look for this car and works very well. You can see those calipers through the wheels and it just looks fantastic. So no other options to be ticked there. The interior, I did initially have a Blackberry slate, two-tone leather ticked, which in the configurator on screen doesn't look too bad. However, when you see it in person, you looked at the swatches today at the dealers, it really didn't work for me. So we've gone for a safe black, all right? Again, good for resale value, safe bet. So black leather interior it is. 18-way adaptive sports seats. Right, so yeah, you get this bit here, which is very important for me. So you can bring the headrest up and down and forward, so it's on your head, which is very important for a bit of comfort. So that's what we've got there. Other options that we've ticked. So exterior, I ticked the Carbon Sport Design Package option. For me, this adds some nice trim details to make the car a little bit more interesting from an exterior perspective. And just to run through what happens here. So you notice there'll be a change to the front apron when you select this option. So you get a slightly more aggressive front apron there. You get carbon accents around here. You get carbon accents around the sill. And the big change that you'll notice here, to see this, yeah, the rear end changes significantly as well. So if you look the rear end without it, and then the rear end with it, and you get these cool carbon diffuser trim that sort of sits around the edge. Of course, no tailpipes in sight, being an EV, but that I think looks really cool and is a very nice spec to have for the car. So next option ticked was the electric folding exterior mirrors. I always go for those. You know, I don't really know why I've always gone for those on a car. I think it's a nice way of seeing that you've locked it. You kind of see the mirrors folding in. It just kind of gets them out of harm's way, right? Just in case somebody should get a bit close to them. And it's a cheap option in the grand scheme of things, 210 quid. Porsche LED courtesy door lights. This projects the Porsche logo onto the floor when you open the door. It's a bit showy, but I think it looks kind of cool. And you know, it's not a super expensive option, bit of fun, so why not? No other options were ticked here, but you can get sort of the model designation on the door. You see that appear down there. I think it looks cool on the right Porsche. If you're going for kind of 911, maybe something retro looks great, but Taycan, just sort of keep it simple. Taycan Turbo S gets the 2-speed transmission, front rear motors, and is very, very powerful, very torquey indeed. So no changes needed there. I've gone for the PDCC, so the Porsche Dynamics Chassis Control option, which further improves the roll of the car, just kind of really locks it down. And I've driven the demo with that, and it just handles like it's on rails. It's fantastic, and is just something that I think works really well on this car. It's a heavy car, so you just want it to have as much support and stiffness in that suspension as possible. This option here to have the calipers, don't know why it changed screen there, painted in black gloss, which you can see there, is this option here. I haven't gone for that because a bit more interest for the car to have them in Aurum, so I think they look pretty cool like that, and it just adds a bit more interest to what is quite a grey looking car at the moment. Next up, lighting and vision. So rear light strip with Porsche logo in black. So you'll see here, let's get the right one. You'll see here the option that changes. So this is currently a light coloured Porsche, and if you tick that, it murders it out a little bit more, and of course you get that light strip across the back in Taycan. Panoramic roof fix. Now I'm actually undecided on this. I don't know whether to stick with it or not. This is the only option I'm really struggling with at the moment, and I might delete it. Now, if we look inside the car here on this specific view, you'll see it with the panoramic roof. And if I untick it, of course, it removes it, and it's a little bit darker inside. Now, if you are driving the car, you don't really notice it because it doesn't really kind of start till it's kind of behind your head, just so you get more light into the rear of the car, and it just adds more light for the rear passengers. But I'm not sold on this one yet. I might delete it out. A bit annoying if the sun's coming in through it and you don't potentially want it coming in. Apparently 80% or so of them do have this option ticked, but I don't know if I will stick with it. We'll see. Jury's out on that one. Okay, moving through here, park assist and surround view. So that's a 360 camera, top down when you're parking. I get that in all my cars. Couldn't get it in the McLaren. If you could, I would. You can get it in the Artura. Great option to have, just especially if you've got a big car and you can't see around it. You want that 360 view for just, you know, that confidence when you're parking it in tight spots. Great idea. Adaptive cruise control, I ticked it on this because EV, quite cool to have as well. Just sort of lock it on when you're going down the motorway, and it will adaptively change speed and brake for cars in front. Not too fussed about the lane keeping assist or anything like that, or the adaptive inner drive, not for me. HomeLink, the advice is don't bother there because, don't forget to stay tuned because we are coming to the very important EV bits, all right, to consider. HomeLink, don't bother, that's for your home gates and doesn't work with most systems, I'm told, so I haven't got that. Comfort access is sort of, you know, walk up to the car, automatically opens. I prefer just the click, the satisfaction of clicking it to open, unlock it. I prefer that, so we're not ticking this option here. Ambient lighting, that's required for the LED projecting Porsche logo, and the storage package is free standard. And I've gone for Bordeaux red seatbelts, just to add a little bit of interest, otherwise just a bit too much grey going on for me. So, yeah, a bit of interest there to the tone of the car. Now, I haven't really ticked any other options here because you can really go to town and get leather trim here, leather trim there. It's lovely in standard form and is perfect for me. I think it works really well. And you can just go to town and, you know, the thing is with options, right? Here's the note. Options don't really have a bearing on the GFV of the vehicle, as far as I can see. For sure, there might be some that change it a little bit when it comes to resale, but the GFE from a finance perspective tends to stay pretty static, and the options don't have much effect on it. So, you know, the more options you get, it's not really money you will necessarily get back, depending on the residuals of the car. Again, could be anywhere in 3 years' time. So I haven't gone for anything there, any of the race techs options either. Wood, carbon, aluminium. Now, the audio and communication, there is a Burmeister 3D high-end sound system which adds about 380 speakers around the car, a lot of additional weight, but it comes with the Bose system as standard, and it's very good, especially coming from the McLaren 570 system that I've got at the moment. That is very goodish system. It's not the super high-end system that you can get in the McLaren with like the Nautilus dash tweeters or whatever they're called. But it's the Bowers and Wilkins, I think it could be. But the Bose system in the Porsche Taycan is great. And for me, good enough, don't need to change it. It's still a very expensive option to go for the Burmeister, so I've left that off for now. Right, here's the important bit. And I'm going to chapter these because this is the super important bit so you can jump to it. But the e-performance and what to tick, this depends on how you're going to be charging your vehicle, right? So the one that everyone ticks at the moment is the 22 kilowatt onboard AC charger. Now, what is that? So the 22 kilowatt charger allows you to charge at 22 kilowatts if you've got access to three-phase power at home. Majority of UK homes do not have three-phase power. They have single-phase power. So the max you're going to be charging at is 7.4-ish kilowatts, there or thereabouts. And you have a dedicated feed to that charger. Now, if you do have the luxury of three-phase power at your home, tick that because it will allow you for faster charging. There are some tariffs you can get, Octopus specifically, that will allow you to charge between 12:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. at about 7 pence per kilowatt hour, which is dirt cheap. And if you've got three-phase, you want to charge it as quickly as possible as you can through that window because that's when you get your cheap power. I don't have three-phase power. To get three-phase power installed is digging up the road, driveway, and average cost is sort of 10 to 20 grand, I believe, to get three-phase power run to your home. If indeed there is capacity for the grid to do that in your area. So crazy. And a Taycan will charge successfully overnight on 7.4. You just, you might pay a little bit more if you're charging outside of that window. So 22 kilowatt onboard AC charger will allow you to charge at 22 kilowatts if you've got three-phase power. Now, if you're charging at home on single phase, read this. Have a look at this. It's quite important. Small print, right? Please note that for single phase charging up to 7 kilowatts, the standard or onboard charger is recommended. So if you're charging at home on 7 kilowatt, don't tick this option. If that's where you're going to be doing the majority of charging, do not tick this option. And the reason for this is I'm reading in the forums that people with the 22 kilowatt option, the transformer, when they charge at home on single phase, it can cause a burnout or challenges with that transformer, and it fails. Right? They recommend to knock it down to 6 kilowatt. If you're going to be driving your vehicle to work and they've got three-phase power there and you're going to leave it plugged in and charge it during the day on 22 kilowatts, get this option, right? So if you're going to be doing the majority of your charging at work and you've got access to three-phase power there, get this option, right? If you're charging at home, do not tick this option, all right? Read this little caveat they're saying here. So I think this is one area where the Taycan's a little bit weak compared to the likes of Tesla. The charging capability of it. It's 800 volts, yeah, I get it, but I think Tesla is just a little bit better about managing the power going into the batteries. At least that's what the sort of conclusions that I've drawn here. So that's very important to know. So I've not ticked this here because I'm going to be doing the majority of my charging at home. I've had my point installed. 150 kilowatt DC onboard booster. You only need this really if you're in Europe, okay? If you're going to be charging in Europe on 400 volt infrastructure, and we're talking about DC charging here, right? This is AC charging, which you do at home or most workplaces if they got it for free. DC chargers are the high-speed ones that you get in garages, the BP Pulse, Ionity chargers, super high rapid charging. It's all DC, right? So you don't need a transformer or converter. The inverter is actually outside. It's the big box that's next to the charger. You just need to plug it in and off you go, DC to DC in the batteries. You only need this if you're going to be charging your car abroad, really. Now, the majority of rapid chargers in the UK, which are ones that can charge, I believe, 50 kilowatts and up, or 22 kilowatts and up, there or thereabouts, rapid charging, is they're DC chargers, but they're 800 or 900 volt-ish, don't quote me exactly, but you don't need that converter installed to charge at the highest rate a Taycan can charge at. Now, the highest rate a Taycan can charge at 270 kilowatts, which is very, very quick. Problem is, there's very few chargers that will support that rate of charging in the UK right now. I think there's only a handful of 350 kilowatt chargers, literally a handful. I'll do more videos on charging infrastructure as we go through this, but yeah, this is very important to consider. You need a lead to plug it into. The Mode 3 lead looks like this, and this is going to fit into your home charger and the socket on the Taycan. So I might delete this because I've just realised as well it's only 4.5 meters, and I actually need a longer one to reach from my wall socket to where the Taycan is going to be parked. So these are very important things to consider. The Taycan CCS charging socket, which is pretty much de facto standard these days, and you'll see it in a lot of chargers. But do consider these options very carefully. I'm pretty sure this issue will be sorted out at some point soon, software upgrade or hardware upgrade. But really do consider this because it's an expensive option, right? It's extra 1,179 quid. And if you don't need it, do not get it. So just to consider that and bear that in mind. And that is pretty much it I've not gone for any of the stitching, leather piping, because I just, it's super crazy dollar really for what you get, I think. And the car looks great as it is. So I haven't gone to town too much on the spec, and 11,109 is already getting quite expensive in relation to the car. So that's it. I just wanted to run through the spec of the Taycan and that important thing you need to consider with the charging options there at the end. This is probably the most important bit when you're dealing with your Taycan. But I hope that helped, and I'll keep you posted as we move through this journey for sure. Thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon. Bye for now.